peoples. We do this not as the act of a government, but as a community, to confront the past, acknowledge its pain, and work together on a brighter future. In many ways, it is to address unfinished business that has been ignored for centuries. But the time has come, and that time is now. Later today, I will release my government's response to the Treaty Advancement Committee report. We have accepted in full or in principle all 22 of its recommendations. Over the next 12 to 18 months, an independent interim body will build the legislation and structures for our next steps. This body includes members of the Treaty Advancement Committee, including former Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander Social Justice Commissioner Mick Gooder, former Federal Attorney-General Professor Michael Lavarch AO, and former Lord Mayor of Brisbane and Queensland great Dr Sally-Ann Atkinson AO. Mr Speaker, along with 7 others who are distinguished and accomplished in their respective fields. It will draft legislation that will establish a First Nations Treaty Institute and a truth-telling and healing inquiry. Mr Speaker, this is the latest step in a long journey that our government has embarked upon towards reconciliation and achieving real outcomes for Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples. It includes more than $525 million in targeted funding for Indigenous councils with a focus on employment. This has seen our Works for Queensland initiative creating meaningful work, jobs and infrastructure in local communities. Community-based Indigenous health services have improved outcomes for mothers and babies. We've improved participation of Indigenous children in kindy and preschool, as well as years 11 and 12, and returned more than 5 million hectares of land to traditional owners. Mr Speaker, close to 400 people have accepted the invitation to be here today. For many of them, simply being in Parliament House will require courage. Such is the depth of feeling over government actions like the stolen generation. I will join with First Nation leaders to sign a statement of commitment, and I invite all members in this House to take part. Fittingly, the ceremony will begin with the voice of schoolgirl Kaya Skeen, a proud Gubbi woman. It symbolises that what we do here today is about the future. Mr Speaker, we will follow today's historic measures by having our next Community Cabinet on Thursday Island on the 6th of September. This is our second Community Cabinet on the island. I want to hear directly from the community their issues and concerns. During the week, my ministers and I will also travel to neighbouring islands and Cape communities. We govern for all of Queensland. I would like to thank all those involved with bringing us to this historic moment, including the Minister for Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander Partnerships, the Minister for Communities and Housing, Minister for the Digital Economy and Minister for the Arts, and the members for Cook and Bundamba. As this House knows, the member for Cook is the first Member of Parliament from the Torres Strait, and I'm proud to have so many of our First Nations heritage on this side of the House. Mr Speaker, every generation is presented with an opportunity to make its mark, and I believe this treaty is ours. As the Uluru Statement from the Heart says, as a fuller expression of Australia's nationhood, to put wrongs right, to stand as one, and at long last write this new chapter of our story together. Mr Speaker, last Tuesday I was honoured, along with the Attorney-General, to receive the report of the Commission of Inquiry into aspects of the CCC from the Honourable Tony Fitzgerald ACQC and the Honourable Alan Wilson QC. The report contains 32 recommendations to improve how the CCC discharges its important corruption functions, and I table the report. These recommendations include improvements around its use of seconded police and its criminal charging practices. It is a very thoughtful and carefully considered report, which of course is what you expect from such eminent commissioners. It is designed to ensure that events such as those that occurred around the Logan City Council do not happen again. It charts the pathway to ensure that the CCC improves, regains public trust and continues to play its vital role in our system of government. Yesterday, Cabinet considered this report. Cabinet accepted in principle all of the recommendations. We will ensure that this work is considered alongside other important reform work such as the Coldrake Review. The final Commission of Inquiry report is available on the Commission of Inquiry website, along with copies of many other submissions received. Queensland will always owe a debt to Tony Fitzgerald. His 1989 Commission of Inquiry was a beacon of truth and integrity in the darkest of days. It remains a touchstone for us still. Today we thank him and his colleagues for their most recent work and service to our state. Mr Speaker, we're also focused on delivering good jobs, better services and a great Queensland lifestyle. Two major recent announcements have ticked all the boxes, delivering energy, employment, economic activity and regional growth while addressing the cost of living and reinforcing our position as Australia's energy generation superpower. Firstly, a $160 million deal with the federal government will connect our Southern Downs renewable energy zone to the national electricity market. Powerlink will build 65 kilometres of transmission lines and 2 new switching stations. That's to fast-track the connections to one of the country's largest wind farm precincts. It's the first partnership between one of our publicly owned power companies and the Clean Energy Finance Corporation. That speaks volumes for the new way of working with the federal Albanese Labor government. Mr Speaker, the other announcement was by Senex. They plan to invest more than $1 billion on more gas production for the domestic market. The expansion is planned at their Atlas and Roma North developments in the Surat Basin. That ties in with our policy to unlock gas for domestic supply. So what do these two announcements mean? Together they mean more power supply for hundreds of thousands of homes in Queensland interstate, more power for business and industry, more downward pressure on prices, more renewable energy as we approach our 50% target by 2030, more regional jobs in construction and operation and more regional economic activity. Queenslanders can be proud when announcements like these achieve so many priorities. And finally, Mr Speaker, not even Matt Damon could resist the biggest show in town when the ECA returned after 2 years of COVID. Everyone was happy that the ECA was back in its rightful place in our calendar. In almost 150 years until COVID, the show had never missed 2 years in a row, not even during the war years. That was necessary in 2020 and 21, a tough call but the right one. So to see many happy crowds back there again this year was wonderful, 340,000 of them. I know Cabinet enjoyed being back there too, and I'd like to thank the RNA for hosting us. We even announced that we passed the peak of our third COVID wave. The ECA is when the country meets the city and both learn to appreciate each other. It is also an opportunity to focus on particular issues for agriculture. This time we announced new measures to deal with a new threat to our primary industries, foot and mouth disease. We'll recruit a squad of biosecurity officers against foot and mouth and other disease risks. Our $22 million package includes 15 new staff. 10 of those will be regional biosecurity officers who will be skilled in disease protection and response. At least $7 million will be to recruit and train those 10, plus an annual investment of $2.5 million to protect our cattle, sheep, goat and pork industries. Mr Speaker, frontline officers strategically placed throughout rural and regional Queensland is a top priority. Livestock industries are essential to our economy with thousands of good jobs in every region. Primary producers want to protect every one of those jobs. We are behind them in that and in everything to do with our primary industry sector. We do all that all year round. But ECA is when the spotlight shines and we're already looking forward to next year, and I'm sure that Matt Damon is as well.